What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. With this video, we are jumping into some awesomeness. Having the legendary writer Chris Claremont. He is returning to spearhead Gambit issue number 1. I know a lot of people, they've been a little bit burnt out with the new era of X-Men. Lucky for all of you guys, this is jumping us back to the 90s. Taking us to the era of Uncanny X-Men. This is taking us back to the early days of Gambit, where this issue number 1 is going to be dropping us in. Recently having encountered Nanny, we had Storm, who is now de-aged back down to Kid Storm, back in her childhood state. Gambit recently saving her from Shadow King. You could consider this the lost adventures of Gambit and Storm. Because right now, the world is their oyster. We all know Gambit for the hero thief that he is. And Storm, in her earliest of days in Cairo, she was also a thief. So make sure that you guys have subscribed to the channel, you have liked this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we jump into the Uncanny X-Men era, we are picking up with the adventure of Aurora and Remy. The current city that they find themselves in is Cairo, Illinois. Remy having a brand new partner to work side by side with. That is Kid Storm. And we see them out on these streets making their hustle, with Kid Storm skateboarding by this guy, Remy also bumping into him. This is all classic pickpocket technique. But what this guy seems to find out is that nothing was actually stolen from him. He believed that he was pickpocketed, but as he goes to look into his wallet, look into his pockets, he finds everything is in place. A little bit later, we have Gambit and Storm meeting up in an alleyway. This is Gambit teaching Kid Storm everything that he knows about stealing, about being a thief. But he is also testing out her true abilities, seeing what she just might be capable of, because he made Kid Storm return all of that stuff back into his pocket. Gambit wanted to see if she could really pull this off, if she has the skills to roll around with him. And while Kid Storm, she's not very happy about this whole situation, she still is going to continue on and learn from Gambit. Their next job, it is breaking into that guy's safe. Gambit sitting outside letting her know that she needs to find a way into this building to get past all of the alarms and break in without being detected. And this is all so she can open the door for Gambit. Very reluctantly, she makes her way to the top of this building, getting into the chimney, getting inside, trying to open up everything. She uses her powers a little bit of lightning. Remember, up to this point, ever since she was de-aged, her powers and her ability to control her powers, her memories, all of these things are more or less taken away from her. And so this is a Storm that has to relearn everything. But when Storm breaks into this place, this is where she is met by Gambit, because Gambit had already swiped and copied this man's card the other day, the one that would allow entry into the building. Obviously, Kid Storm is furious, but this is just yet another test from Remy. As she throws a little bit of a tantrum, she starts to make a Storm above Gambit, letting her know that if she continues on with this, they can just end this mentorship right here, right now. Getting the money they came for, maybe soaking wet money, but they have their score, heading off to St. Louis. The two of them sit down and they have a conversation about Shadow King. Kid Storm, she wants her payback. The face that Shadow King is currently wearing is an FBI agent known as Jacob Reese, wanting her revenge because Shadow King really made her feel helpless, made her feel like she can't protect herself. She is attempting to prove to him and herself that she is not scared of Shadow King. But Gambit does remind her, the last time the two of them were together, Shadow King had her number. And so what would be different about this time? Letting her know that sometimes the only play is to run away. You have to know when you are outmatched. But she does vow that she is going to make him suffer. With our Kid Storm taken off, Gambit sits behind and he watches as this quote-unquote FBI agent, Shadow King, has a conversation with Moira. a story arc that plays out in Uncanny X-Men 278 moving forward. Really, the Shadow King, at least in this issue, he's just getting into her psyche, trying to change some things around. That's when our story, it takes us to an alleyway. We had a cop who was chasing down some kids that seemed to have stolen something, when our kid Storm goes to intervene, thinking that she is helping these kids. This is when a whole bunch of young females show up around her, having Jazz and a few other individuals. These are the cadets of Buckeye. With our kid Storm sitting here getting jumped by them, we have Gambit show up on scene, but also Sabian. As they break up this little brawl, Sabian lets Kid Storm know that Jazz is challenging her to a fight. But because she is not a cadet, she has no obligation to honor this duel. Of course, Kid Storm, she's not backing down. As the two of them begin to brawl, Gambit and Sabian have a conversation about Shadow King, saying that her and the cadets, that is why she is here to begin with. She has come to rescue these cadets, or at least get them out of harm's way, because anywhere Shadow King is, there is going to be trouble. Telling Gambit that he needs to actually ditch town as well, that if Kid Storm won't go with him, he needs to leave her behind because it is a lost cause. Even going as far as saying that she would kill Kid Storm as a mercy, really letting Gambit understand the depth of what they are getting themselves into. But there's a mystery to solve, and Gambit is not one to back down from a mystery. As Kid Storm cleans up Jazz, this fight comes to an end. They head off back to the pier, back where Shadow King once was, unwilling to run away, believing that if she does, it means that the Shadow King has won. What she really wants to do is to show with all that power, he is not a god, that he is vulnerable in ways that he could never truly imagine. When she had been fighting Jazz, this is when she learned something about herself, that she is no monster man. She hardly even has her powers right now. She's just a kid. And so while she may not be able to hurt the Shadow King's body, what she can do is hurt his pride. Take him by surprise, make him look ridiculous in front of everybody in public. That Kid Storm, some harmless little girl, some helpless little individual, made him look like a joke. She knows that this will drive him crazy. While the Shadow King is preoccupied with Moira, Kid Storm is able to get close enough and throws a pie directly into his face. And the Shadow King absolutely loses it, reaching out and attacking everybody's mind that is nearby. But when he reaches out, he is unable to find Kid Storm, and he does give her praise, talking out and hoping that she might be able to hear, but she has got his attention, and right now he is in no hurry to make her pay. Eventually, she is going to feel the wrath of Shadow King, but first he is going to go and claim the lives and souls of the fellow X-Men. All of her friends will be hunted down. They will suffer at his hands. And in turn, she will suffer at their hands, saying that they would happily turn her over, at least after he has gotten to them and been done with them. And so, taking us to a little bit later, we have Kid Storm, who is in a fantastic mood. She was setting out to do exactly what she wanted to. She knows that Shadow King, he's going to show up again. It's going to be inevitable. But for at least today, she has won this pieing. She has won this tiny battle, this little victory, with Gambit letting her know that it is time to go and do something new. We are taken far from Earth, taking place during pretty much the same time. This is where we get Bounty. As she brings in her latest grab, she is getting her next job. That is Lila Cheney, the best singer in known space, and even a better thief. She is able to teleport between galaxies. This makes her almost impossible to catch. The video clip that they have of her though, in the background, this is where we see Gambit. And so Bounty, she is gonna go grab Gambit and use him as bait to lure in the biggest catch that she will ever get. Alright guys, so as we dive into this issue, we are just off the side of the Mississippi, making their way south from Cairo, Illinois. These two thick as thieves. The two of them are honestly having the time of their life. That is, until the unexpected happened. Making their way down this very curvy and narrow road, they see two vehicles oncoming towards them, seeming to have some kind of car fight in the middle of the road. They're bumping into one another. This causes Gambit and RO to go swerving out of control and careening off the ledge. Being an older vehicle, there were no airbags. RO, her head hits the windshield, and Remy's head hits the steering wheel, as they find themselves completely surrounded and engulfed in water. We have RO, who is bleeding out, and she's got a huge cut on her head. Also being currently unconscious, Gambit grabs hold of her, trying to hold on to her, trying to free themselves from the vehicle. He uses his power to blow the car away, to break the hold that it has on them so they can get to the surface. But in doing this, he loses control of RO. As she begins to float away, a mysterious stranger jumps into the water. Grabbing hold of RO, they all get to the surface. Getting up there, we see that RO is not currently breathing, needing CPR immediately. Our stranger gets to work, and while they are able to get her breathing, she is still unconscious. She needs a doctor. Lucky for them, our stranger's mother just so happens to be a doctor. Hopping into her truck, they hightail it out of here. And with RO being unconscious, she goes into a type of dreamscape, and what she finds before her is her grandmother. A grandmother that is many times removed. But she heard the scream of RO, and she came to see what is going on, letting her know that she fought against the Shadow King, and she won. But also letting RO know that this is not the end of Shadow King, that he is going to come back, he is going to want his revenge. And so she is here to mentor RO, picking us up with Gambit and at the house of the stranger who saved their lives. We learned that RO is currently in a coma, almost drowning, her head slamming against the windshield. This could have gone much worse, but she is still in very bad shape. We learned that the rescuer, her mother's name is Gabriella de Castro, and the rescuer is Marissa, with Gambit thanking her for all of her help, because if it wasn't for her, RO would more than likely be dead right now. But he does have another favor to ask. They need to go get everything that he had inside the vehicle, or at least try to find it. As the two of them drag all of the stuff that they can find onto the shore, this is when they run into a gangster by the name of Solars. And this guy, he's trying to buy up all of the land, to include Marissa's family land. They have big plans for it, big corporations moving in, they're gonna make millions of dollars, so on and so forth. Marissa and her family, they refuse to sell, and so they come here to try and intimidate her. Now these guys, they have no idea who Gambit is, but Gambit, he has been asking around the cars that caused them to crash, the crash that caused Storm to go into a coma. It was his men. And so with Solars being the big boss man, Gambit has a bone to pick with him. And while they do try to act tough at first, we see Gambit ignite one of his cards. In doing so, these guys immediately back off. Not really knowing what to make of Gambit, they hightail it out of here. And this is when Marissa, she goes on to explain that they are trying to buy out all of the land in this area, trying to turn it into giant subdivisions, trying to turn it into something humongous, really just trying to make as much money as possible. But for the people that don't want to sell, it appears that there have been accidents happening all over the place. People getting murdered, people getting killed, it all being covered up, made to look like just bad luck at the end of the day. But Marissa knows that these guys are responsible. They are the ones intimidating and hurting people to make sure that they get what they want. Inside the mind of RO, she is currently in the midst of her training with her grandmother. And as she trains all of this time, she is getting her butt kicked. But there is no part of RO that wants to give up. And so while this training continues, while she sits here in a coma, Remy and Marissa, they're starting to get a little bit close. Looking like it's gonna get a little bit romantic, looking like Remy's gonna go in for a kiss. This is until some goons show up, they break up this romance, and they start attacking the two of them. As these thugs descend on the two, Remy wastes no time lighting up some cards and taking down some bad guys. From the shadows, we have a mysterious mercenary who is watching. More than likely, they were hired by Solars. He is a very impatient man and he wanted these guys taken off the board as quickly as possible. Our mercenary, he knew that this was a bad idea. He knew that they should have waited. They should have watched. Because Marissa, she is a Force Recon Marine. She is no easy individual to be able to take down. But she's not even the biggest threat. The biggest threat is Gambit, being far more dangerous because of his superpowers. This is when we see that mercenary, it is in fact Warhawk. He has been hired to take these two down. Picking up Marissa's truck, he chucks it at the dock, almost landing on Remy and Marissa. As the two try to jump into the water, there is a giant explosion, taking us over back to the mind of Ro. She is still in the midst of her training, but while she is training, there seems to be some kind of smoke that is building up around her. Not understanding what is going on, she breaks out of her coma, and when she does, she sees that the house she is in is on fire. Not only that, but Gabriella is unconscious, the mother of Marissa. With Ro being in this weakened state, she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know how to save her. As the smoke starts to choke her up, all she can say is that she is sorry. Sorry that she wasn't strong enough, sorry that she wasn't good enough to save her life. But while all of this is going on, there is a storm that forms over the house. It begins pouring down rain and it puts out the fire. Storm does believe that this is her grandmother that is out here helping her out, listening to her call for help. As she drags the old woman out of the house, getting her out of all of this smoke. On the front lawn, we see Warhawk. We see all of the goons. And they are here to take what they believe belongs to them. Meanwhile, down by the river, we have Marissa and we have Remy. The two of them rising up out of the water, being able to cheat death. We see them embrace, we see them kiss, not being able to believe that they are alive. They know exactly what they need to do because Solars is headed directly for her family home, which means that her mother and Storm are both in danger. Alright guys, so as we dive into this issue, we see Marissa wearing Gambit's suit. Because what they are about to do, she is gonna need a suit as good as his. She does feel a little bit ridiculous wearing this, but this is when Remy pulls out a pistol and he shoots her right in the chest, the bullet bouncing right off of her. This is why she is wearing it. This is why he is lending it to her. What they are about to do, they're gonna take a lot of bullets. And the colorful torso, it makes people want to shoot that. If people are shooting his chest, that means the bullets are bouncing off. The only vulnerable spot on this suit is your face. But he also lets her know that knives and things of that nature, they can penetrate the suit. Having their plan ready to go, Marissa is going to be the distraction because Remy is a thief. And every thief needs a good distraction. That is where we pick up with Warhawk and Solars. Now, Solars isn't concerned about Gambit showing up. He believes that Gambit's dead, Marissa's dead, and they don't have to concern themselves. Warhawk, on the other hand, he never saw their bodies. He knows that Gambit is a superpowered individual. He knows the threat that they very well could be facing. And it doesn't take long, but from outside, they hear the gun chatter. Warhawk knows exactly who this is, and he goes charging into battle. Meanwhile, on the astral plane, Ro has brought Gabriella into this safe place, but things are seeming a little bit different in the astral plane. Ro not really understanding what is going on. She is about to be on the precipice of a choice that only she is going to be able to make. On the outside of the compound, we have Marissa, who is just laying down the hate as all of these goons try to unload their rounds on her. All the bullets are just bouncing off and she is laying down the haymakers. And she is definitely holding her own. That, of course, is until Warhawk shows up on scene. And he is letting her know, out of respect for her abilities and her courage, he makes a one-time offer to make a quick and painless death. Of course, this is something she isn't going to accept. And so the two of them go toe to toe, letting her know that he was better than her before he got his enhancements. Now, this is no match, but he is very interested in the suit that she is wearing, saying that once she is dead, he is going to take it off her body because he knows that he could get a small fortune for it. He also knows that she got this from Remy, as she is just getting her butt kicked. This is when Warhawk puts the pieces together. He got outplayed. She was nothing more than the distraction, telling all the goons to deal with her but don't use guns, to use blunt force and hand-to-hand combat. He is going back into the compound, and that is where Gambit has already taken down everybody inside the house. Everybody except for Solars. As Gambit is about to take him out, this is where we see Warhawk come into the room. And we have the fight between the two titans begin, with Gambit throwing his cards. They're not doing very much damage to Warhawk, which means Remy, he's getting thrown around a little bit. He's able to jump around, he's able to bounce around, but then he recognizes it is time to go in for some hand-to-hand. The cards aren't working, so now it is time to bust out the staff. Being able to get up close and personal, Warhawk is outmaneuvered in every single turn, getting a giant uppercut. We see Warhawk fall down to the ground. On the outside, Marissa is just laying down the hate on these goons. And this is when, from the astral plane, Storm has a decision to make. Her friend's in danger, Gabriella and her own body in danger from Solars. This is when, from the astral plane, we see Ro, stunting her abilities and her power, the electricity flowing through the room, the lightning erupting from her hands. This fight is over. Now, Warhawk was able to get away, but right now everybody is just celebrating the victory. They have won the day, with Remy and Marissa kinda saying their goodbyes. There definitely was a connection between the two of them, but Gambit does go up to Ro and lets her know that she was just a friend, and that, if anything, you are my partner in crime. You are my ride or die. We are in this together. You are my partner. And so while they celebrate their victory, we have the person known as Bounty. She is currently hunting down Gambit, just recently going to Solars. In the aftermath of everything that happened, he has lost everything. His compound is in destruction, all his goons are gone, he is looking beat the heck up. But if Bounty is going after Gambit, he is going to give her every resource at his disposal. Alright guys, this is opening night on the casino boat. They are currently taking a poker cruise down the Mississippi River. And while usually Remy is the one out in front doing everything, he has a new partner in crime. One that he could say he is even falling for. That is Marissa DeCastro. At this point, she has stolen his heart. The longer the two of them spend time together, the more he discovers how many surprises that she has inside of her. Something that he did not know is that she is one of the best poker players he has ever seen, and that is saying a lot when we are talking about Remy. The truth of the matter, Marissa loves the game. Even when she loses a hand, she is still winning. That is because everyone in the room cannot take their eyes off of her. The chips mean nothing. The attention, it means everything. The truth of the matter is that nobody is watching Remy. Him and Ro, they are going about their business and they are robbing everyone on this boat blind. While Marissa grabs all of their attention, Ro and Remy are stealing all kinds of good stuff. Come daytime, the lovers do what lovers do. Ro and Gabriella, the grandmother, they enjoy the little things. And while Gabriella finds it very odd, Marissa has more or less fallen in love with a thief, that she should probably be a little more apt to stop this. But she has never seen Marissa this happy, and so they continue doing what they are doing. By night, they are robbing this ship blind. Most of the people not even recognizing because they have so much wealth that they're not even recognizing money, jewels, all of this stuff is being stolen from them. Now, what they do with that money next is what really matters. Once they get back on land, they are giving all of this back to the hungry, back to those that need it, while the rich didn't even notice that they were taking all of their money and all of their jewels. These people have never had anything, and so why not give it to them? But they are headed down the road, and they are headed towards Huntsville, Alabama, because right now there is a concert, a party that is about to be had, and that is one by Lila, the mutant who is able to teleport all the way across interstellar distances. She has been doing this for quite some time, but she is also a thief among the very best, with a reward to prove it. And there are bounty hunters that are determined to bring her in. For quite some time now, we have seen Remy. He has been a little bit on guard, not really sure if somebody is following them, but he is getting this odd feeling. His instincts are telling him something is going on. This is when Lila comes out and she kisses Remy right on the lips. Obviously, Marissa not very happy about this, but she makes her introductions to everybody else, knowing that this is Marissa, saying that she has never seen Remy so happy, but she also wants to get a new suit for Marissa, one just like Remy's. And so they teleport out of here. That is when Remy, he goes looking, because his instincts, they still have not stopped. You could say that his spidey sense is going off. That is where we pick up with Bounty, making her way into this festival, eating some hot dogs, enjoying her time. Solars is a little bit mad at this point, because she is just enjoying being here, but she is so curious on how good the Cajun actually is. And then when it comes to RO, Solars really thinks that he can just take this kid by himself. Obviously, he can't. As he storms off, this is when he runs into 3 bounty hunters. Bounty is their rival. They are seeking an alliance with Solars. They want the reward all for themselves. Solars, being the guy that he is, he says that he is in. That is where we pick up with Remy and Bounty. Bounty is able to get the jump on Remy. She wastes no time giving him a great sucker punch, knocking him down to the ground. Remy, recognizing that this is a situation he can't toy around with, going to use his cards, charging them up. Before he gets the opportunity to throw them, she has already taken his staff and thrown him into a car, and she lets him know that you need to stop while you're ahead, while you are still breathing. Backstage, we have Lila and Marissa who have returned. Her brand new costume. As she asks RO and Gabriella where Remy has gone, they have yet to hear from him, and so she decides that she is gonna go looking to see where he might be. As she goes off in search of him, well beyond casual glances, we have the fight between Gambit and Bounty continuing. To be honest, Bounty is very much enjoying herself, telling him that he can give up now and they will call it a day. This is when Gambit does a Hail Mary, because Bounty is very good. She barely had time to realize what was happening next, much less respond to it. Remy making his move, pretty much doing a pile driver to her. Before she can begin to figure out any kind of response, this fight turns upside down. Cars lifting up off the ground, and she is stuck on the ground, with Remy tapping specific places on her back. He has pretty much giving her a neural lock, that this will only keep her down temporarily. And Gambit, he wants to make a deal to leave Lila and him and his friends alone, and he will let her go. Now, leaving Gambit and the friends alone, that is no problem. When it comes to Lila, Bounty has been searching for her for a very, very long time. This is when she begins to stand up, saying that that was the best fight she had in ages, making a compromise saying that Lila is safe on Earth. Off-world, everybody is fair game. Gambit saying that he's not going to speak for Lila, but that works for him. Meanwhile, we have Marissa, who is looking all over for Remy. Unfortunately, she runs into those 3 alien bounty hunters. While they aren't acting very hostile towards her, she goes to turn away and run. That is where Solars comes in, surprises her with a knife to the chest, saying that he loves her her new outfit, but according to his new friends, it is great against guns, not so much against blades and punching. This is where we see her bleeding out on the ground, calling out to her mother, calling out to Remy. Alright gang, so our story is starting off with Remy and Bounty having a drink together. Making his new friend, he is super excited because the two of them fighting, it was one heck of a fight. But now they have come to an agreement. While they are having a drink, both Ro and Gabriella, the mother of Marissa, they are out looking for Marissa. Not sure where she ran off to. The last they had seen her, she went looking for Remy. What they don't understand is that these bounty hunters have already caught up to her. A bounty hunter by the name of Bonehead, a mechanical-like bounty hunter. He is taking Marissa into his mechanical body, and he is about to devour her as his own fuel. With this concert getting well underway, with Gabriella and Ro finding Bounty and Remy, they can hear Marissa screaming. They don't know where she is, but they are going to go look. For Bounty, she very much understands the scream that she heard. It is a scream made by the prey of the bounty hunter known as Bonehead. The trio bounty hunters, Bonehead, Tsunami, and Cannibird. She lets Gambit know that these are individuals you don't want to tangle with. By the time they get on scene, it is looking like it is almost too late. With only Marissa's head popping out the top of Bonehead, he is slowly but surely integrating her body into his own. Now for Gambit, he very much was falling for this girl, bringing her into this world, bringing her into everything that he has going on. He knows that this is something he is very much going to regret, but he is about to enact some vengeance. With Bounty letting Gambit know that the transition isn't complete and it might be possible to save Marissa. With the fight getting well underway, with Marissa, her eye being plucked out by a mechanical arm. It is sucking the very life force out of her body, and the bounty hunter known as Tsunami, trying to hold back both Storm and Gabriella. We see the two of them washed away in salt water, with Gabriella sacrificing herself, letting Ro make her escape. Ro reaches out to her ancestor, trying to figure out what to do here. The ancestor letting her know that she has done all the training she needs. She knows how to fight this. She taught them both how to win, because we have seen Gabriella also learning from the ancestor. We see Gabriella reach up to the sky, being imbued with the power of the ancestors. The lightning comes down, and Gabriella has stolen the power of Tsunami, stolen her power and her armory, with Gambit going toe-to-toe with Bonehead. The mechanical monster is just too powerful. Gambit knows that brute force isn't going to work here, and so what he does, it works on the weak spots, works on the joints, because this is a robot. At the end of the day, it is all mechanical, which means it can have a mechanical error if he hits it in the right spots. But we see more and more that Marissa is slowly dying, being taken over, being turned into a weapon, with Bounty throwing Cannibird in the projectile way. We see Cannibird be hit by Bonehead, and Bonehead, this is when he takes off towards Lila, recognizing that this might not be a good situation, that they might lose this fight. He wants to go for the bounty that they came for, because Lila is the true prize here. Meanwhile, inside the mind of Bonehead and Marissa, we see Marissa fighting back, with Lila playing her music as loud and as hard as she can, trying to distract all of the actual concert goers from what is going on. We have Gambit, who is trying to take down Bonehead, while the psychic battle of Bonehead and Marissa is also ongoing, taking him down on two fronts. We see Gambit able to disable one of the arms, Marissa slowly gaining control over the body of Bonehead. She fights like she has always done. The two of them together are able to overpower Bonehead, the machine lying down on the ground, and Marissa's body looking as if it is pretty much fully decayed at this point, barely even holding on to life. Bounty lets them know that nobody has ever beaten these bounty hunters before, much less done what Gabriella has accomplished, coming away from this battle with Tsunami's armor and weaponry. Lila letting it be known that she is not even even sure if it is possible to set things right for Marissa, but the place to start, it is across the stars. There are no guarantees considered the ultimate long shot, but Lila is willing to take her there and see if it is even possible to save her life. And while Gambit would love to go with her, in fact, he even says that he is going with her, there is no question about it. Marissa lets it be known that RO needs you. She cannot be left here all by herself, that Marissa is a Marine and she can take care of herself. RO is nothing more than a child, one that needs guidance, one that needs the Cajun. They both know it, even if it's not fair, as the two of them embrace one another, as they say their last goodbyes. We pick up much later. We learn that Solars had been taken by Bounty. He is going to be staying in an off-world prison. That, of course, is if he survives the first night. RO saying that if everything she saw is what love is like, then she is going to stay clear of it as long as she possibly can. But she also says that she's sorry for everything that did happen. As she begins to tease Remy, they plot their next adventure because she has some old business to finish. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I really do think this was fun for what it is. It's just a classic Storm and Gambit kind of mess around. Seeing their adventures, seeing what they did back in the day, being introduced to some new and old characters alike. It really does highlight the relationship that these two have had for such a very long time. And it also highlights how just good-hearted Gambit is at the very center of who he is. That even being a thief, even being a gambler, all of these things, at the end of the day, he is a hero. There is no question about it, that he does what is right. You could even consider him a Robin Hood. I will be honest, I'm not very sure how Marissa's subconscious was able to take down Bonehead. It doesn't really explain any of that except that she took over control. And I'm also not very sure on Gabriella's connection to RO's ancestors, but she was able to learn from them. She was able to use powers and abilities that she never had previously, so much so that she was able to take over more or less Tsunami as a whole, taking her armor and taking her weaponry. It would be very interesting to see if Chris Claremont is going to expand on everything that he just created. I know me personally, I would love to see Lila, Marissa, and Gabriella out in the stars to see what shenanigans they might get into and see what is in store for them next. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you would like to get caught up on everything going on in the entirety of this mini-series, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is going to get you completely caught up on everything that happened in Gambit. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership, much like Patreon, having 5 different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only would you be helping out the channel tremendously, you would be getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you are unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.